Hi everyone, welcome to the Wargaming Parrot. I'm David and today we're going to be talking about what to do with your parrot when you go on vacation. This is something that people have asked us a lot and some people suggest I make a video on, so I thought why not? It's something everyone needs to know and it's useful information. So in this video I'm going to talk about the sort of people you can get to look after your bird while you go away. I'm going to talk about some of the things you can prepare before you go away to make life easier for your birds and for the people looking after them, and some other options you can consider that a lot of people don't do, but things you can do when you do go away and you want your birds to come with you. So the first point I wanted to make, and it's something that a lot of you who are probably watching this video wouldn't consider, but I think it's very important to make, is you can't just leave your parrot alone, especially cockatiels who are prone to night frights or African greys who are very nervous. You can't just go and leave them with a bowl of food and some water and disappear, because they're highly social, they're very much like dogs and cats, they need someone to look after them. So please don't consider just going and leaving them on their own. If you have to leave them alone on an emergency, or if you're just going away for one evening is about the maximum I would suggest you should consider leaving them alone for. Any more than that and you absolutely must follow one of the recommendations in this video. If it's one evening, even with that, you must make sure they have fresh food and water, and you preferably want someone to be able to pop in and check on them at least a couple of times a day. Maybe a neighbour, a trusted neighbour, a family member or a friend. So just one evening is the absolute maximum, and please do not consider leaving them alone for any longer than that. Maybe repeating myself a little bit here, but just to make sure, even if you do leave them alone for one evening, it is essential someone pops in, and someone's popping in regularly. Even if you follow some of the other tips and there's someone around but they have to go to work or whatever, it's good that someone's popping in regularly to check on your bird and it's to make sure that they're okay. So this is something that most people do when they go on vacation or they need to go away for any length of time for work or whatever, and they have a parrot, and that is ask a friend or family member. It's the most common way of doing it. You literally just ask a neighbour, or a very trusted neighbour as I mentioned before. You ask a friend, close friend or a family member to pop over to your house and just look after the parrots, because generally a friend or family member will have encountered them before, the parrot will be familiar with them, and it'll be much less likely to be a problem. You can also talk to them about what your requirements are, and they'll just generally be aware of the bird and what problems they may have. For example, ship of fish, we could talk to our neighbour about that they may prefer thunderstorm noises at certain times in the day and their routines. And you can convey this information to someone else, but if it's someone who knows the bird and knows you, it's much easier. So generally, most people's preferred option is a friend or family member to look after the birds when you go away. The next option many people use is hiring a pet sitter. Just like if you have a dog or a cat and you need to go away, you want someone to look after it. So a pet sitter is the next best option that many people consider. Now when you're finding a pet sitter, you can't just get any pet sitter, because obviously you don't have a dog or a cat. Well, you may do, but you want someone who knows a bit about birds. So it's important to talk to them, important to learn about their specialist knowledge, important to learn about their personality. Have they encountered birds before? Do they know what to do if there's a problem? Do you have to literally tell them absolutely everything that they need to know? Because if that's the case, you may want to consider someone else, someone who has a little bit of knowledge. Another option that people consider is boarding. A lot of people board small parrots at pet shops or with local sitters. It's not quite as common in the UK as in the USA, but I know there's a big market for that over there. So when you're considering boarding, just like again with a cat or dog, consider the boarding place carefully. Go and check it out before you send your birds there, and make sure that they're all okay and that you're happy that they're going to have the best care and environment. Look at reviews, look at the sort of things they've been doing. Do the same with pet sitters as well. Check out what they're like and if you're happy to trust your bird with them. So I've covered a few things that you can consider when you want to have your bird taken care of, but there's a couple of things you need to prepare for these people. If you're boarding, a family member, pet sitting, having a pet sitter, that will be helpful to those people to look after your bird. The first of those things is to have an action plan and a fact sheet ready. So whenever me and Sophie go away and we have our neighbour look after our bird or checking on them, we prepare a little sort of fact sheet of when they should be fed, what they should be fed, have a sort of list of their behaviours, what they like, whether they like thunderstorm noises at certain times, whether they like to play at certain times, can you get them out, because certain people may not be able to get the birds out, or the birds may be nervous around other people. Basically all the information this person needs to look after your bird well, and to make sure they're happy with your birds and comfortable, not getting bitten, and that your birds are happy and comfortable. The next thing I'll strongly consider is target training. Now, if your birds are nervous, target training can be a great way of getting your bird used to other people. but also for those people to be able to get your birds in and out of the cage if there's a problem when you're not there. Because if your bird is target trained, they will respond to targeting mostly with other people as well as you, because the target training response will be that strong. So if you can, get the other person, family member, friend or pet sit to come around and do some targeting with your bird before you go away, which will make life a lot easier for them. If not, it's not possible, that's understandable, but make sure that target training response is very strong, and it will make it a lot easier for them, and it will make you feel a bit more comfortable that your bird's going to be okay and happy while you're gone. The other thing that's well worth doing before you go away to make life easier for whoever's looking after them is preparing any chop or food before you go. A lot of people aren't going to be prepared to do that. Some family members and pet sitters might, but generally they're not going to, and it's better that you have it prepared because you can have the sort of food you want for them. And if you have the action plan for them, they can literally get it out of the fridge, get whatever other bits you want for their regular diet, pop it in a bowl and sort it. The other important things to prepare before is make sure you have a birdie first aid kit accessible and ready for action. This includes some important things like cornstarch for stem and bleeding, cayenne pepper for any minor grazes, that sort of thing. And also, more importantly, the number of your avian vet. So if there is an emergency while you're gone, the person who's responsible can deal with it and they can contact you for any advice. But they're prepared to do any first aid immediately, so they don't have to be waiting for you to phone call, especially if you're abroad and making things difficult. Added to this, don't forget to include your contact number as well in case they do need to reach you. The other thing I wanted to mention that's well worth having prepared and available before you go away is something called a travel carrier. Now we have this lovely travel carrier from Northern Parrots. It's basically a backpack with a perch in it, put a towel at the bottom to make it more comfortable. And this is something that you should have in your house when you go away, and just generally because it's very useful. So if there is a problem, your birds can be transported to a vet and there are no issues. It also ties into my final point of something you can do if you want to consider something else with your bird as well. With the travel carrier, this is something that's essential. It's important your bird's trained to go in and out of it. It is an essential training. You can use targeting to do that. And it's just essential. I'm repeating myself, it's just very essential. Our boys are quite scared of the travel carrier at the moment, so we're working to train them to go in there and accept it. The conures, they're completely indifferent to it. They're pretty happy going in and out. It's just very good. So the last point I wanted to make about looking after your birds when you're on vacation or away at work is you could potentially take them with you, especially if you're traveling within the country. If you're going abroad or flying, there's other things you have to consider. I believe Bird Tricks did a good video on that, which I'll try and leave a link for in the description. But you can take them with you. So if they're travel carrier trained and you have a reasonable travel cage, especially if it's only a couple of days, you could just take them with you. Make sure they're secure in the car, travel with them and have them along with you. It depends on whether the hotel or where you're staying, if it's friends or family members, would be happy with them there. But if they are, it makes things a lot easier for them and you. Although it is worth considering the potential stress to your bird if they're not very comfortable travelling around. Some birds absolutely love it, other birds will get very stressed by it, so you need to consider this factor as well when you're considering taking them with you or not. That's just another thought. Do consider your bird's species and personality very carefully when you're preparing any sort of arrangement for when you go away, be it taking them with you or leaving them at home with someone else. Because, for example, cockatiels are very prone to night frights, as I've mentioned, and they may need some special consideration. Same with African greys, same with certain types of macaw. So consider your bird's personality and species very carefully and just make sure that they're set up to have the best time and relaxing time while you're having the best time relaxing time. So guys, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this video useful and some of the tips may give you some ideas on how to get your bird looked after properly while you're away. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. But in the meantime, thanks again for watching, take care and have a great day.